Hey, what's going on? Good morning. This is SRO Torres with the Manhattan Beach Police Department. On August 27th, we had our second virtual Coffee with a Cop. It was a great opportunity for us to engage with the public, get our faces out there, and discuss pertinent issues during this time, like the civil unrest and traffic enforcement and other safety-related police topics. If you didn't get an opportunity to check it out, please review it here and follow us on all of our various social media platforms. And make sure to like, comment, and subscribe here at the YouTube channel. Thank you. Have a great day and enjoy.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Can everybody hear me just fine? Yes?
Yes.
Sounds good. All right. So we're going to go ahead and kick our second virtual Coffee with the Cop off this morning. As always, I want to just reiterate to everybody that here in the city of Manhattan Beach, we do take our social distancing and our face mask wearing seriously. So you'll notice that some of the officers here joining me are wearing a face mask or face shield. And that is because we are in the same office space. So we are sitting distance apart from one another, and that is why we are wearing our mask. You'll notice some of the officers that are going to be joining may not have a mask. And that is because they are within their own confined space and they are away from everybody else. Kind of like how you guys would be doing at home. So they do not have to wear a mask for this. With that being said, let me go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Officer Iniguez. I am the Community Affairs Officer here with the City of Manhattan Beach. And joining me this morning, I have Officer Pereira, who's with our Motor Division. I have Detective Sean Thompson, here from our Detective Bureau. I have Officer Brian Cobian, who is here from our Patrol Division. I have a special guest, our School Resource Officer, Officer Torres. We know that school is going to be back in session shortly, at least virtually in the meantime. So he may be able to answer some questions when it comes to that, on what his role will be. I also have our crime analyst, Ms. Lopez, here joining us as well. And my assistant, R. Leslie, who is our host for this event. I hope everybody, again, that didn't hear me initially, has some coffee here. I stopped this morning, got mine. I know a couple of officers have some of theirs as well. With that being said, we'll go ahead and get started. If you joined us last time, you understand how this works. What I'm going to do is I do have a list of questions here that were submitted to me based on my request on our social media platforms. Once I am done with this, I will be more than happy to take any questions that are written in on the Zoom chat that we have. And then towards the end of this, we'll kind of do a live form if we have time, and we'll answer some live questions for you, if that sounds good. Keep in mind, if you have a question, you know how to use Zoom, just use the raise your hand function, and our Leslie will go ahead and get you in. So I hope everybody's doing good this morning. We did have some really good questions. So I'll start off with the first one that was sent in to me. And basically this individual said he's a huge fan of the MBPD. And he was wondering, hey, when the pandemic is over, will there ever be a way I can go on a ride-along? Other than that, he's going to keep showing his support for MBPD. So in regards to the ride-alongs, yes, you can. There is a process. You just have to call our watch commander, let them know that you are interested in doing a ride-along. And what they will do is they will coordinate a time based on the shifts and availability of what we have. Typically lasts for about 4 hours. And officer will drive you around the city, and they will, let you know what they do on a day-to-day basis. Maybe you'll get to see some traffic stops, maybe, catch a criminal, something like that. But it can be pretty fun, especially depending on the time that you do decide to go on the ride-along. The second question, this is another good one. So it concerns the enforcement of California traffic laws. So it's a good thing we have a motor here. And question goes is, how many personnel are on duty doing this? Second part of this question is, I cannot but notice when we are walking, driving, and riding our scooter, that a large majority of the drivers in MB are not signaling left turns nor right turns and stopping at four-way stops. Will, can you shed some light on this question for them, please?
Hey, good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
You can, Will.
Okay, so first part of the question is how many traffic officers do we have? So currently our unit consists of 4 motorcycle officers with 1 sergeant and 1 lieutenant. So a total of 6. And then our sergeant also rides a motorcycle, and so does our lieutenant. But enforcement-wise, we have 4 main officers, and that's part of our area traffic program. Each one of us is assigned to an area of the city, consistent with our beats 1 through 4. If you ever have any sort of traffic enforcement requests, you can do that through the city's website, through our traffic officer program. So we're actually budgeted to have 6 officers, but assigned to the traffic division, and that was recently upped from our 4. We do have a 5th. If anybody's familiar with Officer Caveney, he's out on injury recovering right now. And hopefully when this whole pandemic is over, we can bring on board our 6th motorcycle officer, so we have that additional manpower out there enforcing the traffic laws. I believe the second part of the question was about scooters and not signaling and obeying traffic laws. Scooters are we talking, if we're talking about mopeds and those things, all of those things, motorized bicycles, they all have to obey the same rules of the road as bicycles or any other moving vehicle. You have to come to complete stop at stop signs. You have to signal. If you don't have an actual electronic turn signal or anything like that, you have to use your hands. Yield to pedestrians when given the opportunity, and obey all signs and signals. Again, if you do see things like that, you can always call the front desk to ask for extra enforcement. You can refer to our website at citymb.info and navigate through the traffic enforcement or area traffic officer program. I've gotten a couple of requests recently once we put that out. And is there anything I didn't touch on, Chris?
I think you hit it. I think the other part of that question was there concern that other drivers are not signaling while they're riding their scooters as well. So probably to piggyback off of Will, as traffic enforcement officers are out there, they catch them how they see them. So as Will explained, we do have motors out there and know that they are aware of problem areas, and they will tackle that problem as they see them. So don't be concerned. I know I'm going to give too many secrets, right? But they got their spots. They go out and they look for these types of violators because they know that they are out there. So just rest assured that they do, and we here at MVPD do take the traffic laws very seriously. Before moving on to the next question, I forgot to introduce actually a special guest we have here with us this morning, and that's Mayor Montgomery. Mayor,
hey guys,
thanks for joining us.
Appreciate your time.
Joining us.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. So we'll get right back into it again. Here's the next question. Question is I was just curious on how effective security cameras are around the home to prevent burglary and break-ins. I see a lot of video footage on the Ring Neighborhood app of people in surrounding neighborhoods stealing packages and even entering backyards, garages, and invading people's homes to rob when residents are actually in the home with kids. Criminals don't seem to mind being on video, even without masks covering their face. Maybe the video helps catch them later. It doesn't prevent the crime. And now it seems that they are not held in jail for long either. I do feel that MB is a very safe city compared to our neighboring cities. And for that, I am very grateful for our MVPD patrol and quick responses to calls. But since criminals are so fast, as a homeowner, should I bother to invest in video cameras around my home? Or is there another way to help deter criminals and keep my family safe? So that's a good question. We have seen, not just here in Manhattan Beach, but in general, surrounding cities, that yes, certain crimes are on the rise. Should I invest in cameras? I would, because as you mentioned in the question, even though that sometimes we may not be there on the spot, depending on where we're coming from or what's going on, they can help us. The surveillance video captures these criminals at a later date. So it is a very, very useful resource, because initially when the officer takes the report, what's going to happen is they're going to start looking for any leads and follow-up, one being surveillance video. And having that surveillance video is going to be very crucial, and critical in helping us solve some of these cases, right? So definitely I would invest in some security cameras. As far as the criminals, not being scared, kind of answer this a little bit, but I mean, it's not a secret. You know, obviously California right now, because of the pandemic, has a zero bail. Maybe that could be a reason why, yes, criminals know that they're probably going to get a ticket and be sent on their way, right? You know, they don't want them in jail. That could be a reason why some of them continue to do what they do. It's not uncommon. It's even happened here in this city. Eventually, when they're caught, you know, sometimes we can press for it and we will hold them, and we will keep them. Another thing to deter criminals, I always like big dogs. If you're a dog lover, invest in a nice big guard dog. Criminals tend to be afraid of dogs. They see a dog, and especially if it looks mean, and it could be the nicest dog on the planet, but if it looks mean, they don't want to mess with that dog. Officer Cobian, Detective Thompson, do you guys have any thing to jump on and add to this?
I think Officer Niguez answered all the questions as far as the bail and the criminals feeling like they're going to get away with things. You know, hopefully when the pandemic is over, things will be back to normal. They know that there'll be repercussions from their actions.
Just to piggyback off of what Officer Niguez said, I like cameras. Cameras are good. In an investigative aspect, when we do have footage of a crime, we make a bolo or we send that out to other law enforcement agencies, and hopefully the other law enforcement agencies have had contact with this person or they know who they are, and it kind of helps us in our investigation in identifying the suspects.
Hey, and to put it in layman's term, what Detective Thompson is talking about, bolo, is actually a flyer that shows the suspect from that video file or picture obtained from surveillance footage. So that helps us tie our crimes with other crimes in the area in the South Bay or in other places.
So to kind of piggyback on what they said, from the crime analysis perspective, we do reach out far and wide. If we know it's a local maybe group that's doing it, we'll just reach out within the South Bay. But we do generally reach out as far and wide as LA County to look for similar suspects and things like that. So video footage, photos, any good quality photos, definitely very, very helpful in trying to identify these guys. Also, if you decide to go with Ring cameras, we do have a registration on our website so that you can register your camera, and then that way we get video quicker. So just FYI on that.
Can they register any camera even if it's not a Ring?
I believe they can. Well, I think they can register any camera. However, we do have we've met with a representative from Ring, and we do have a partnership with them to be able to get access to some of their video from here without having to go out, as long as the homeowner consents to us accessing that video.
As far as the effectiveness of cameras, there's been situations on patrol where an officer will either stop a suspect that has been seen on a camera entering a house, where an officer did an investigative stop prior to that. We were able to identify the person. He was sent on his way. A few hours later, we respond to a residential burglary, and we see the surveillance footage and actually see the same person. And we kind of already have a named suspect because we had already identified him. Also, again, see the footage, see the person, and then we're out and on patrol. We stop a car, we see somebody walking down the street, and then we're able to ID the person and arrest the suspect because they were the ones in the video entering the home. So the videos and surveillance cameras are a big help for us.
All right, so hopefully that answered that question, and we'll move on to the next. Thank you guys for your input. The next question, it says, thank you for the opportunity to communicate with Manhattan Beach Police Department. Thank you for all the efforts of MBPD to keep us safe and to create a welcoming and cooperative environment for citizens and visitors. Our questions: there's a lot of talk about outsiders. They and some locals creating an unusually tense and dangerous environment in Manhattan Beach, especially downtown, with claims of unprecedented levels of threatening behavior and criminal activity. What is the official MBPD response to those concerns? Is crime really up from the average summertime rates of crime in Manhattan Beach? Does MBPD feel that the increased number of outdoor diners and drinkers contribute to the problem downtown? I hope not, because outdoor dining is helping restaurant owners keep their business afloat. If there has indeed been an upswing in crime, what can be done about it? And is it accurate to blame visitors for the upswing? can you provide some crime stats to the community? So to kind of answer this question, let's see where I'll start with outsiders creating unusually tense, dangerous environment in Manhattan Beach. You know, I'm not going to put the blame on just the outsiders alone that come in here. Generally, a lot of people that do come here, I would say for the most part, you know, the majority of the people that come here, they're coming here to explore the fine dining and the beautiful beach that we have here in Manhattan Beach. So they're not here really to start any trouble. And, you know, you do have some of those people that do come from neighboring cities or out of town that are just looking for a target of opportunity. You know, I mean, that's what some of these, you know, you call them career criminals do. They travel from city to city, you know, from area to area, and they look for different spots because wherever they're at or wherever they're, you know, located, they've already burned that territory. They know that, you know, hey, probably law enforcement there is looking for them. So they'll drive. You know, we've stopped people here in this city, believe it or not, from as far out as, you know, Corona, San Bernardino County, you know, I mean, Upland, Oakland, they do come from the Bay Area. I mean, they come from all over the place. So I wouldn't necessarily say that, you know, they're here, the outsiders are to blame, but we do have outsiders that will come and look for target of opportunity here. But again, majority of the people that do come here, they just want to enjoy the beach, especially being that it's summertime. The last few weekends have been really hot. You know, I had the opportunity to work some beach patrol a couple weeks ago, and everybody was behaving themselves. You know, there was no confrontations, no arguing, no fighting, you know, none of that stuff. Everybody was there with their families, you know, and their friends, just trying to have a good time. That's all they were doing. As far as our response to what we do, yes, we are out there and we are trying to be as proactive as we can. However, you know, you got to think about the downtown area. The streets get really congested, and sometimes it's very hard to navigate, you know, driving from one side to the other. So, yes, we may not catch everything as it occurs if something does occur, but we are there, you know, and as long as you guys call 911, let them know what the emergency is, you will get a response. You will see a response. We will be down there and we will address the issue accordingly and how we see fit. As far as crime being up, I will go ahead and let our crime analyst jump on that in a minute. Let me just answer the last part about it. Can we blame visitors for the upswing? Again, like I said, you know, we do have, you know, our own area residents here that could be to blame as well. I mean, you know, I think everybody, you know, can contribute to something, right? You know, my best advice is when you're out there enjoying your dining and you know, drinking, having a good time, just be responsible. Be responsible, know your limits. If you feel you can't walk home, drive home, call an Uber, get a taxi, you know, call a friend, get somebody to safely drive you home. Don't drink more than you can handle. I get it. You know, it's a frustrating time for everybody, but just being responsible or, you know, be a responsible adult. And, you know, that right there will solve, you know, the majority of all problems. As far as the stats, Angela, do you have anything for us?
Yeah, so for 2020, as we stand now, January, we pretty much had it was kind of low actually compared to the last 5 years of the crime that Manhattan Beach has seen. So for instance, in 5 years, we have like 92 on average is what we would have for January in terms of like part one crimes. But for January, we actually had 83 in 2020. And these are preliminary statistics. They haven't been cleaned or indexed, but that's kind of gives us a general idea of where we are this year compared to last year. As you guys know, towards March is when we saw a decrease in crime because of COVID, more than likely. Instead of the 79 that we usually have on March, we actually had about 59, so a significant drop. And again, those are preliminary, so that number is likely to drop even more once it's all indexed. Same thing for March and April, likely due to COVID, those 2 months were low. And then due to the social unrest, we did see an uptick in crime, not significantly high, but we did see a slight increase because of all that action. But again, not significantly bigger than what our 5-year average would be. And right now, I think we're averaging just about where we were on our 5-year average. So For like July last month, we were at about 89 crimes versus what we usually run is about 83 in July. So again, that number will probably drop once everything is cleaned and once we confirm and categorize everything into its right spot. So yeah, we've seen those trends definitely based on what happens in society. It does fluctuate crimes depending on, but we're doing pretty okay in all things considered. So,
Angela, what are examples of Part 1 crimes so people know?
So basically all agencies across the nation in the United States have to submit to the FBI so that they can kind of track us as a whole, so that they can compare agency to agency and what our crimes are. So Part 1 generally include violent crimes, which include homicides, rapes, robberies, and assaults. And these are considered the most dramatic in any city to be as part of, how violent crimes are increasing. And then another part of that is property crimes, which includes burglaries, larcenies, and vehicle theft. So basically all across, that's how we measure each other to kind of compare and see if our crimes are spiking up or going down. It's based off of these specific crimes. So that's what Part 1 crimes would be.
So we'll move on to our next question. It's actually a 3-part question. This one's pretty good, and it's been actually pertained to a lot of our officers here. So the first one, it says, we live on Marine Avenue. Speed limit is 35 miles per hour between PCH and Aviation, so basically from Sepulveda to Aviation. We see cars speeding double that both directions at all hours of the day. I have never seen anyone being ticketed. Can there be regular daily tickets issues to make sure it's a safe speed cars learn to take and it's no longer a speedway?
So what was the major street there? I heard between Aviation and Sepulveda.
Off of Marine.
Oh, it actually right now we had Officer Swanson out there this morning. Just because you don't see us doesn't mean we give attention to these areas. We have our, like Officer Niguez said earlier, we do have our spots, and Marine happens to be one of them. And a lot of the times we'll try to be out there during the busiest times of the day, like rush hour traffic. We'll get several individuals. This city often every couple of years or so conducts speed surveys, and that's what they use to set the speed limits on streets. So we're well aware of the speed limits around that need to be enforced. But just because you don't see us out there doesn't necessarily, unless you're out there 24/7 like we are, it'll be by chance that whether you see an officer out there or not. But we are out there. Be confident in that. If you have a specific time of day that you would like us to come out there, we can try to be out there as long as we have nothing else going on during those specific requested times. But just because you don't, you happen to be driving by on Marine on your way to, grocery shop or run your errands and you don't see an officer out there, doesn't mean we're not focusing on another area. We may be focusing on Aviation or Sepulveda, for example, or on Rosecrans, where we also have other speeding problems. Right now, there's a big concern about Valley. Valley's being called the Valley Speedway, so we've gotten concerns about that. So we'll be focusing our enforcement efforts there for a little bit until things calm down. And just a little enforcement action does go a long way. Things do tend to calm down once people see us out there, but usually after a while we focus our attention somewhere else, and then the problem resurges, and then that's when residents can do their part and let us know what time of day they start seeing these speeds. They're saying that people are speeding all day. It's kind of a misnomer, because we're not going to sit there all day while other spots in the city aren't provided attention also. So if you could give us a specific time of day when you see this type of activity, let us know. We'll go out there and do our part in our enforcement efforts. If we see any other things that can be done, like an extra light or something like that, or if you suggest that, we'll let our city traffic engineer know of that suggestion and see if they can tackle it in some other way by either reducing or the speed limit. But by law, there's certain things they can and can't do in regards to speed. If you know about speed surveys, they have to abide by the 85 percentile rule. If you don't know that, what that means is basically they sit out there with speed readers and see how many cars go through the speed readers, and based on what 85% of the speed the people are traveling on that road, that's what the speed limit is based on. Other factors can contribute to that, but they can only raise it or drop it by 5 miles per hour. So if a certain street has a lot of houses or businesses with a lot of driveways, if most of the people are traveling down that road at 50 miles per hour, the lowest they can go based on the speed survey would be 45 miles per hour, only because of the driveways or so. So again, speed limits are set based on that 85th percentile rule.
Sounds good, Will. So the second part of this question says, I have called for police twice since moving to Manhattan Beach. Both times cops came in under 10 minutes, but I never see cops patrolling residential areas, only in downtown or on Artesia, MBB, Marine, or other large streets. Do units have patrol plan for residential areas, especially in the evenings or overnight? Officer Cobian, being out on patrol, can you help answer this question for us?
So as far as where we're patrolling, every officer has the ability to patrol wherever he feels he needs to be, whether it be on a major street or residential streets. Like my partner said earlier, just because you don't see us out there doesn't mean we're not there. There are times when we are also even in regular vehicles. So it's a car that you wouldn't even know we're in. We're driving around looking for people walking down the street or trying to victimize somebody. But again, it goes back to just because you don't see us doesn't mean we're not there. During the day, I like to focus myself on major streets, and I'll start going through the small residential streets throughout the day. And again, we're looking around, saying hello to people, and obviously if there's somebody out there trying to victimize somebody and they see a patrol vehicle driving through, they're gonna think twice and go somewhere else. And like I said, we can't be at all places at the same time, but we are out there, and we do find people coming out of backyards or looking to get in backyards a lot, and also people calling in and letting us know, hey, we see somebody, suspicious activity, and that also helps us a lot too.
Thank you, Officer Cobian. And the third part of this question is, what new things are being done to deter the overwhelming increase in home break-ins, theft, and car theft? Our next door neighbor's home door was knocked in while she was home around 9 p.m. What new initiatives are planned to deter and lower crime rate and keep our property and young kids safe? I'll kind of touch just a little bit on that, and then I'll pass the mic over to Detective Thompson here. But, one of the things that we strongly recommend to everybody, and you'd be surprised, and I repeat this all the time when people ask, is how many residents here leave their garages and vehicles unlocked. And I don't know if it's just being, complacent, because yes, we do live, or you guys do live, and we work in a relatively safe city. However, as I mentioned earlier, there are criminals that do come down here looking for targets of opportunity. And in the age of social media, word gets out a lot faster than it used to. If you have one criminal that says, hey, I was just out there in Manhattan Beach, driving around, everybody's garage doors open, what do you think happens, at that point? And how do you think, criminals are getting this out here, right? They'll drive down here and they'll look for exactly what their buddy said, and that's how it starts. They'll drive around, check door handles on vehicles. That's how it starts, Please lock your doors, lock your vehicles, and that there alone should kind of help deter people from coming here when they know that, hey, people here, they're smart, they're wising up. Other than that, I will pass this over to Detective Thompson so he could finish answering this effort.
Officer Niga said it correctly. I mean, you're looking for us, different initiatives for us, but I think we need to work together as a community. A majority of our vehicle break-ins are unlocked, so the mere locking of your vehicle is going to deter a lot of those, and taking your properties out of there. I mean, I have a case where the guy had iPads, GoPros, $400 in cash. These things are in their car, and it was in the car, and the car was unlocked. So just take your valuable properties out of the car, lock your vehicle, and it's going to deter like 80% of vehicle break-ins. As for residents, home security systems work well. Video systems, motion sensor lights, dogs. When you leave, lock your doors, lock your windows. Manhattan Beach is a wonderful city to live in, and I just feel like a lot of times we get complacent because we live in such a great community. But another thing, just take those measures, and they're all deterrents. I mean, if a burglar is going to want to get in your house, he's going to get in the house some way. If he's going to want to get in your car, he's going to get in the car some way. But if we deter them, a lot of times they will move on and won't commit the crime. And just another thing is just be aware of your surroundings when you leave. I mean, don't be scared and have your head on a swivel. But we all pride ourselves in living in this community and have been here for a while, so we know our neighbors, we know who should be in our areas. A lot of these burglars are sitting out there in their vehicles waiting for someone to leave and using that opportunity to commit these crimes. So I mean, just be aware of who's in your neighborhood and things like that. I mean, it may sound petty, but if you see somebody sitting in a car for a long period of time, give us a call. We'll go check it out. We have the resources to do that.
All right, thank you, Detective Thompson. Hopefully that answered that three-part question. Some good questions we've gotten. I just sent out a message to everybody that's joining us. I'm getting down to the last couple of questions we have here, so if anybody could think of something, please start typing it, and we could get to that as soon as I'm done here. So for this last portion, this is what this resident typed into me. Says, ever since the protests that marched down the Strand shouting and screaming at those of us on the Strand, we've seen groups of young people in groups of 4 or 5, perhaps a carload at a time, strolling down the Strand aimlessly, taking cell phone pictures of our security cameras and our homes. They appear to be dressed exactly as one might imagine characters in a gang movie might be dressed, and they appear to be casing our homes. What do you recommend? Should we take video footage of them so that if they ever appear in our home security camera captures, the police might have an easier time recognizing them? Some of them have asked us, how much do homes here cost? What do you charge for rent? We don't rent our home, and we don't have any idea what others have paid for their homes. While we are fine being friendly and communicating with strangers walking along the Strand, the tone of some of the questions has been creepy. What do you recommend? We've heard that someone was arrested recently after climbing into a second-story window of several houses from us and taking wallets and credit cards while people were asleep in the same room. We keep our second-story windows locked at night, but if I hear somebody uninvited in the house, what does the law say about me picking up a baseball bat and having batting practice? So I'll stop right there before I continue on to the next portion of this question, but we'll go to the first part about it, about the protesters marching down the Strand and the possibility of them casing your homes and what we recommend. As mentioned in the beginning of the segment here, that yes, security cameras do work, and yes, I would always have them running. Yes, I would have them, just protecting your home, so that way, if need be, something does happen, or you do recognize somebody or something, yeah, you have that footage to go back and you can review it to see if anything, stands out or looks familiar to you, and that could be good for us to go back and take a look at and kind of provide us a lead to work with. So you never try to be confrontational. I would always recommend if something somebody does start getting out of line, call the police, let them know what you have, and we'll be there, as fast as we can. But, don't try to be confrontational. Just have the security cameras running, and, just give us a call. As far as them asking about homes, how much do homes cost? It's kind of hard to say what their agenda is by asking some of these questions, right? I know me personally, when, even if I'm going for a walk down there or something like that, that kind of question comes to mind because, there are some beautiful homes down there, right? I think some people are just admiring, the homes and thinking to themselves, wow, it's probably a beautiful place to live, but it's probably pretty expensive, right? So I wouldn't necessarily take that as, it's being creepy, maybe more of a compliment that somebody is impressed with your home. If you do feel uncomfortable asking, again, not being confrontational is the key, but at the same time, you don't have to engage in conversation, correct? You can just, say, sorry, I don't live here. I'm just coming for a walk, or think of an excuse or something to avoid that, if that kind of makes sense to people. As far as what we've heard, as far as somebody climbing into the second story window, what is the baseball, getting a baseball bat and having batting practice? Detective Thompson, do you want to chime in on that from that perspective?
I guess you have the right to defend yourself, but in all seriousness, I think it would be more realistic to possibly call us. It doesn't take us but minutes to get there, especially if it's something where somebody's in your house. Because you run the risk of, you have batting practice with that guy, but let's say that guy gets the bat from you and he's going to injure or kill you. So I wouldn't take the law in your own hands. I would maybe, secure yourself in a bathroom, lock the door with your cell phone, call 911, let us know that there's somebody in your house. We'll get there, we'll expedite, we'll go code 3, and we'll handle the situation. I realistically would not want to take the matters into my own hands because it may backfire.
Hey, Sean, can I chime in and say something?
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Hey, everybody. Jason Knickerbocker here with the police department. I get asked that question a lot too from friends and family. And just keep in mind, everyone in the United States has the inherent right to self-defense, right? None of us have to become a victim, no matter what the circumstances, whether you're being bullied at school or somebody breaks into your house, in the middle of the night. But like Sean was saying, you have to be careful why you do it. If you're truly in fear for your life, ultimately, if somebody gets injured or killed, that person's death will go to the district attorney, and they will decide if they file charges. And if they do or don't file charges, you're fine. If they do file charges, you're going to go in front of a jury of 12 people, and they're going to decide if what you did is justified. That's ultimately what it comes down to. And you have to be careful, in this day and age with technology, even saying something like that in writing to us, can I do batting practice? God forbid somebody breaks into your house tonight, that exact statement will be brought up by the prosecutor at your jury trial. So be careful how you phrase things, be careful what you say, and if you have to defend yourself, you have that right. But make sure you're doing it out of fear, not out of anger. And that's the same with police, right? We have firearms. We can use our firearms to defend ourselves. God forbid we have to. But we can only do it out of fear for somebody being seriously injured or killed, not out of anger. And the same thing goes for everybody in this country as well. So just keep that in mind at nighttime when somebody breaks in your house. Ultimately, try to escape, try to get away. But if it comes down to it and you're in the corner of your house, you do what you have to do to make sure you and your family are safe. I don't know if that's a more clear answer for you.
Be mindful too that if you're not criminally prosecuted for it, the family's going to come after you and you're going to be civilly prosecuted, or they're going to try to sue you for his death.
Yeah, that's spot on, Sean. That's a good point. At the end of the day, just like we teach our kids, it's better to walk away. It's always better to walk away and let cooler heads prevail. If someone's in your house at nighttime, you don't have that opportunity, that's different. But if someone confronts you in front of your house or something, you're always better off just walking away, because at the end of the day, it's really not worth it.
Thank you, LT. Thank you to Detective Thompson. That's very great answer in the question. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. The last part of the question is, a couple more, is after the violent demonstrations that happened in Santa Monica with the looting and destruction, and then the threatened violence in our town of Manhattan Beach that motivated so many businesses to board up their storefronts, what is being done to safeguard our stores and our homes? So to answer that, what a lot of you might not know is that when all these things happened, the command staff here was very proactive on getting a lot of us out there to prevent the same things that happened in Santa Monica to happen here in this city. And I don't know if some of you noticed during that time, we had a lot of cops out there, a lot. And I think those first few nights that we were out there, deterred a lot of criminals from coming in here and doing any shenanigans in the city. So when you ask, what are we doing to, deter violence or to safeguard the stores and the homes, know that we are actively on social media. We are actively on there looking for these types of people that want to try to come and do, cause harm to the city. And, we will be proactive out there, and we will try to address the issue as we see fit. So know that we are all over it, and we are, actively investigating these things as we find them. SRO Torres wants to jump in on this, so I'll let him answer as well.
Hey, how you guys doing? So even though I'm the SRO, a couple months back, I was implemented into a tactical team that was specifically organized to address looters, the potential of looting in our city during the protests and the civil unrest. So yeah, there were several opportunities the first few nights that we were able to deter caravans of organized criminals that came into the city, that came to the commercial areas, 1800 Rosecrans over there, the mall, and they were all organized late at night, and we made a few traffic stops, and inside the vehicle, masks, gloves, crowbars, they were all set up and equipped to and ready and organized to loot some of the businesses. And so the tactical teams that were deployed, they were from noon to midnight, and that was specifically our goal, was to address these looters. And some of them had just left Santa Monica, some of them had just left Long Beach, and they were coming back, and their plan was to hit our city, and we were out there. We were able to stop them, the potential for looting went way down with us out there. So we were out there.
Also, the investigative aspect of it, we've actually helped some of the businesses from Santa Monica recover some of their property. We've had, through the proactivity of our patrol officers, they've stopped some people, like SRO Torres was saying, as they transited through our city, and they actually had property from some Santa Monica businesses that were looted. We were able to give that property back. So kudos to our patrol units. They did a really good job during that period of time.
All right, thank you guys. Hopefully that answers that portion of the question. The last part of it says, we have heard stories of people being accosted and yelled at while dining at restaurants in Manhattan Beach. Some have apparently had things thrown at them from passing cars. How are we to prevent cars from driving along the streets and assaulting innocent diners? Should these streets be blocked off and closed while people are dining? So to answer that question and sum that up, we recently implemented downtown foot beats. So you will see a stronger officer presence walking downtown, just making sure that the diners and visitors and residents as well are all being safe, and they can enjoy their dining experience here or their shopping experience here safely and comfortably. As far as closing down the streets, it's really kind of difficult to do that. I think it's been talked about on how we could kind of reroute traffic in different directions. Where that stands right now, that I do not know, but I do know that was brought up at some point to be able to give the people in the downtown area within the particular section where the restaurants are at, just some peace of mind, and to also help probably expand some of the outdoor dining for some of these businesses. So, it's a great question. I know things are being worked on, and like I said, there is going to be a stronger officer presence down there with, patrol officers working foot beats, just walking around. So hopefully, if you work down there or you live in that area, you've seen that already. With that being said, that concludes the questions that were submitted. Does anybody have any questions right now for us? We're going to open this up for forum.
Hey Chris, I have a couple of comments from the chat. We have Barbara, and she's saying hello from Brooklyn, New York. So she's tuning in all the way from Brooklyn. She's a Torrance, California native, and has lifelong roots and loves the South Bay. She's former NYPD civilian director, now working on community police programs nationally. So good for her. That's awesome. She just wanted to drop in and get a sense of Coffee with a Cop. And her question was wondering if there has been any local reaction to the Kenosha shooting and how you all engage if confronted or given the opportunity in difficult conversations in these times. And thank you.
I can start off.
Sure.
Officer Pereira, I mean, it's difficult. I can't speak on that shooting. Definitely that's a different agency that happened in a completely different state. I don't know all the circumstances surrounding what occurred. Obviously, it's still under investigation. Just like anything that would happen here, there is an investigation process that takes place. Somebody had mentioned a similar question to this last time, and basically there's protocols, right? We'll have our own detectives come out. They will investigate part of the matter. We do outsource to the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. They would come out. They would further investigate that matter, and then the DA's office would come down. And each entity that I just spoke of has a pivotal role in these investigations. And I'm sure that the same thing is going down in that state, and we just have to wait it out. But as far as any comment about that shooting, I have no comment on that. Officer Pereira, anything you want to add to that?
I mean, we've seen local news in terms of reaction from the public. Here in Manhattan Beach, there's always talk about, incidents like this, like the Kenosha shooting. But you'll see the major reactions, the civil unrest in areas like downtown LA. I was on the news yesterday. We had groups of protesters, and they were dealt with accordingly as LAPD felt necessary. Just to prevent the destruction of property, protect life and the residents and the community over there. As a police department, we're willing to talk about these issues as it relates to us. Officer Iniguez was stating how we would deal with things accordingly to our procedures. What my recommendation is, always wait for the facts. A lot of these protests and civil unrest are based on knee-jerk reactions. Tensions are high because of the quarantine and the shutdown of our local economy. So a lot of tension is going on based on other previous incidents as well. So a lot of these things are based on knee-jerk reactions without really knowing the facts of the case. So if you're smart about it, you're gonna wait until you hear everything. Even cases that have happened last year, like like Brianna, things are coming out to light now that people didn't know about, and it's unfortunate. We are human. We are entitled to have our reactions, but when you go out and we have a right to protest, absolutely, it's guaranteed in our Constitution to protest peacefully. But when it comes to rioting and looting and all that things, those are based on emotions and not on facts. So always wait for the facts.
Very good, Will. Anybody else have any questions, or is there anything else from the chat that we should address?
We have one from Liz Spear.
Okay.
What is MBPD's take on any racial tensions in the city in terms of white versus black? Are there tensions? The discussion around Bruce's Beach is very divided with very vocal discussions.
As far as any racial divide here in the city, I don't, there's a lot of stories, and I know that's all been addressed at the city council meeting previously. There was a nice presentation that was presented to that. Again, there's a lot of facts that need to need to come out, or that did come out. Again, I don't know the whole history surrounding that happened way before my time. But as far as any racial divide, I don't see that, and especially around Bruce's Beach. I've been out there when there have been some protesters, and for the most part it's been peaceful, and nobody's complained or said anything about it. I think, like Officer Pereira said in his previous statement, that it's when the people that come down here, regardless of what color they are, that start to riot, loot, and cause harm to the city, is where it becomes a problem. And I think for anybody, regardless of what race you're in, right? I mean, race has nothing to do with it. We're not going to sit here and talk about race and about whether this person's black, brown, white, or yellow, whatever the color is. The mere fact is that a crime is a crime. And people do have their rights. People have their rights to go out there and protest. People have their rights to go out there and freedom of speech. But when it comes to violent criminal acts, well, then that becomes a problem. And as we see on the media and on TV, we turn on the news, it's people of all races and all walks of life that are out there, either A, peacefully protesting, or B, causing shenanigans, right? So, I wouldn't say this is necessarily a black thing or a white thing. This is a global thing at this point. It's just there's tensions all over the place. But as far as here in this city, no, I don't see any of that around Bruce's Beach. And I will add this, right? I mean, I can't. I don't think anybody can. If somebody feels a certain way, that's how that individual person is going to feel. And unfortunately, we can't stop ignorance. I'll say, and I think that we're in a different era now, and people need to just wake up, man. We need to the times need to change, and unfortunately, there are still some ignorant people out there. There's really nothing more to say about that, and you're going to have some, and it's very unfortunate. But, like I said, to say that, we have a race thing here or anything like that, no, we don't, because for the most part, as long as things are peaceful, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that.
I have a comment from Marianne Griffins from the chat here. When will there be consequences for breaking the law? The perpetrator, yeah, right? The perpetrator who barricaded himself for hours got 5 years probation. And I think that we put out a press release about that. And her comment is like, Lori Loughlin will spend more time in the joint than him, which is pretty interesting. My response to that would be, we in my opinion, we do need sentencing reform at the legislative level. That's where our votes come in November. Go out there, and if you feel that we can only do so much as law enforcement and enforce the rules, and we'll catch these bad guys, breaking into homes and stuff, and then you see right here is a perfect example. They get 5 years probation. Well, is this first time? Are you for police reform, or are you for reforming a person, or are you, letter of the law? These people need to be held accountable at some point. So your vote, this is where your votes come in, and based on who you put in this legislature makes these determinations. Our governor right now has decided to be a little bit more lenient based on COVID, but at some point that has to end, and we need to start arresting people. So we'll have offenders reoffend, but maybe the consequences aren't harsh enough, or we don't have the programs in place to reform these people. So or do they want to be reformed? Maybe they're about that lifestyle. So it's important that we go out there, we vote people that we believe are gonna fall in line with whatever your beliefs are in terms of sentencing and criminal justice reform. That's my take on that.
Will, I think you nailed that on the head. I had the opportunity way early on in my career. When I started out, I was a deputy for the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, and I had the opportunity to work as a bailiff in a courthouse. And my clerk, that this is what she used to tell the people all the time when people would complain about their fines, fees, and whatnot, is we don't vote for that stuff. You know what I mean? It's the people out there that are the ones that maybe they're not informed of what certain laws they're trying to enact are, and they just don't educate themselves because something sounds really good, and okay, yes, let's vote for this. Well, think about the consequences after, right? So, always educate yourself on different things that are trying to be passed, different laws, before you go out there and vote. And if you don't vote, go out there and vote. Because, if you don't, then we have things like this happening, right? And again, I'm not trying to get all, political about it, but, that's kind of where we stand. If people are getting lighter sentences, or there's, people not going to jail, or they're getting released, or whatever it is, or certain things are now legal, or the severity of the crime has been dropped from felonies to misdemeanors. I mean, people are the ones that voted for all that kind of stuff, right? So now we're kind of, living in what we, ones that essentially voted to enact, right? So just think about that, come election time and so forth in the future when, we have these things. Any other questions?
I think Joe Franklin has a question. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, hi. Thank you. So I wanted to just give an update on the thank you Manhattan Beach Police Department and Fire Department signs. You've seen them all around town. The reason being is that we've now distributed over 1,000 of these signs. It's way beyond the expectations of what we thought it was going to do. So I want to thank everybody for taking them and displaying them proudly. I've heard individually and collectively from the police officers and from the chief that's it's greatly appreciated, also by the fire department staff. So thank you so much. That's the sign that looks like this, and we have it available in a lawn sign as well. You can go on Nextdoor and find, look for the thank you NBPD, thread, and it'll show you where it can be picked up. I also want to address that question. I am a candidate for city council, and I do want to address that question about somebody said that there's a lot of racial tension and everything in the city. No, I'm a 36-year resident. I've been here a long time. I'm very active. I go around. I'm riding my bike. I'm walking. It's not here. I mean, all are welcome here in Manhattan Beach. And if some feel welcome, let me apologize. But for the most part, everybody's welcome. Everybody can do what they want to do, and as long as it's in the limits of the law, just like everybody. And I would say, don't judge the residents of Manhattan Beach by, something that happened in the past. Judge them by how they react now. How have we reacted, to recent acts of overt racism? We've come together as a community with the Clinton family. 600-700 people collected, gathered, for a vigil to give them comfort. In 2006, we recognized, the bad act of what happened at Bruce's Beach, and we came together and we did something at Bruce's Beach, and it was deemed enough at the time, and I can understand where maybe attitudes have changed on that. But in terms of the residents of Manhattan Beach, find it in your heart to judge us by how we would react now, and the fact that we acknowledge what's happened in the past. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. Well said. And again, in regards to your sign, we appreciate the support. That the community has shown us a lot of support throughout these difficult times. We have time for one last question.
A question from Brian. Did El Segundo PD units help Manhattan Beach PD on Rosecrans and PCH about protested 3 months ago?
Yeah, you know what? We did have I do remember there was a small walk place, and El Segundo PD did help. I believe we had help from a lot of other assisting agencies that came in to help us out. Keep in mind, anytime we have a big, significant event, such as, a large gathering that we need assistance to keep under control, or, even some of the other recent incidences that, I posted on social media, yes, that's the great thing about here in the South Bay is that we all work together, all of the neighboring agencies, whether it be El Segundo, who's right next door, Hermosa Beach, Redondo Beach, Gardena, Hawthorne, even as far out as Inglewood, LAPD, their helicopter comes and helps us, so, we do have a really good bond with our neighboring agencies, and it's vice versa, right? If they need help, we're there to help them as well. That's what we do in this profession. We do help out one another, and we stand by each other, in these difficult times where, we need the support and we need to go help one another, right? Why should one city burn and, let these officers have to deal with that without us going out there to help, right? So the same thing with us. We have people coming here and something that, we can't just deal with the resources we have. We're going to call for help, right? We're going to get some help, and, they'll come and they'll help us out, and we're going to get things under control. So, to answer the first part of that question, yes, El Segundo, I believe, was there with us, and they were helping us just monitor the people as they did their peaceful march along Rosecrans. All right, everybody. Well, you know what? This is a fabulous turnout this morning. I thank everybody for joining us that came. Hopefully the next time we do this, it can be an in-person event, hopefully. But if not, we are going to prepare for another one of these virtual Coffee with the Cops in a couple of months, probably in October. So until then, we'll see you guys then, and enjoy the rest of your day and your weekend.